welcome to your all-active Reserve and Veterans TV series. This information education show has three goals: tell who military veterans are, share about all organizations, auxiliaries, their programs and officers at all levels, and tell about memorials in all the cities we serve in this network. The VA system, state and county officers, hospitals and state homes are also featured. Please do check out our websites, share your program ideas and concerns via the contact information on the show. We open each month's show with a patriotic theme. Welcome once again to Vets Visits on TV. This is our program 177 for the month of December, and this is our co-host.
I'm Neil Doyle with Homestead County Veteran Services.
And I'm Jerry Barnhart, the founder-producer of the program. And we have a very special feature coming up for you in just a moment, and you just saw the introduction to that feature a few moments ago on remembering Pearl Harbor. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that, I'm sure. But right now, I believe you have a special report that you'd like to share with us, right?
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody that the VA has announced that there will be a 3.6% cost of living adjustment this year, matching Social Security's COLA increase for all veterans and dependents that are in receipt of VA monetary benefits.
Mm-hmm. Boy, you really put that in a compact form. So it's just going to happen automatically. I don't have to do anything. Just
right.
Like Social Security, it's going to be added on.
Yep, it'll automatically take effect in January.
Okay, very good. So that's kind of an extra New Year's present then, right?
It was well-deserved and overdue. It's been 2 or 3 years since our last cost of living adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Now, a little bit about our special feature. For myself, I was about a senior in high school when the atom bombs were dropped and war for World War II was put at a close. Do you have any special memories of having talked with your grandfather about World War II?
Well, Jerry, my grandfather was in the occupation of Japan shortly after the A-bombs dropped, and he was with the 25th Infantry Division in an engineer unit that helped build roads and orphanages for Japanese children after the fallout of the A-bombs. Mm-hmm. I think it's important, if you have any relatives that served in World War II or acquaintances, that you sit down with those men and women and try to get their stories out of them while we still can, because they are what's referred to as our greatest generation.
Mm-hmm. Tom Brokaw orchestrated that term.
Yep.
I recall, well, it was just this morning as we are taping in November, I was able to have a fantastic conversation with a World War II veteran who had the experience of sharing some of his experiences in the Battle of the Bulge. He was a supply sergeant, worked back lines, but still had a lot of commissary as well as products that had to be shipped forward. So, but this, let's get to this particular feature now. You're going to see the background from the point of view of the German forces
and the Japanese forces in the Pacific as they seem to rationalize on their reason for their expansionist program. There are a lot of people that are in denial that the Nazis did what they did or the Japanese did what they did in that particular time in 1938, 39, 40, before America really got involved. So if you'll watch for that, that realism that's going to come at you. If you haven't seen this before, we've ran it 2 other times in the past years that we've had the show, and this is our 14th year. So watch for that, and then the dropping of the 2 atom bombs on Japan, and then you'll see parts of the dedication of the USS Arizona as a memorial that was dedicated. Copies of the 1-hour program may still be available, and I don't know in what form. We do thank the producer of this program for permission to share the following excerpts that you're going to see, and we will be running the caption occasionally during this series so that you'll be able to copy down the address and check with them on the purchase of your own copy. But here we are now, remembering Pearl Harbor.
For everything there is an appointed time. And there is a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to laugh and a time to weep. A time for peace and a time for war. A half-century has little dampened the allure of Pearl Harbor. The events that occurred here are etched into our national consciousness as deeply as the names are chiseled on the Wall of Honor. The sunken battleship lies awash in contradictions, emoting both strength and weakness. The powerful image of the once formidable USS Arizona, now naked and exposed, reveals the vulnerability of mortals and of nations. She was silenced before her massive guns could sound in fury. Yet the repercussions from the torment once heard above and below her decks reverberates louder and longer than any explosion could.
What took place that morning, I'll never forget that. It will never be erased from my mind.
It's one of those days that very few of us can ever forget.
A date which will live in infamy.
The USS Arizona Memorial draws 100,000 people per month. They come from all walks of life, from the far corners of the globe. Why do they come? What is the fascination here? They come for every imaginable reason. For some, it is just another spot on their tour itinerary. For others, it is nothing less than a pilgrimage, a chance to remember things past.
I'll really get a sense of feeling that here lies more than 1,000 men, and they were all killed. I thought to myself, I hope they didn't suffer.
For under the murky waters of Pearl Harbor lies a sleeping giant, once the pride of the fleet, now reduced to the final resting place for those brave sailors and Marines unable to flee her fiery bowels. That fateful day is forever imprinted in history. The reminders to the world are the rusting hulks of the USS Arizona, the gunnery training and target ship Utah, and the mooring keys of others that were resting peacefully along Battleship Row. Today, Pearl Harbor is serene. It is not unlike a Sunday half a century ago. On the far side of the world, Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini had forged a fateful alliance that engulfed Europe in war. The Third Reich was changing the face of Europe. In 1938, German troops goose-stepped through the streets of Prague. In the spring of that year, another troubling episode stoked the fires of war. Germany and Russia signed a non-aggression pact. Hitler's Legion shocked the world with their blitzkrieg attack on Poland. France and Great Britain declared war on Germany, but by June 1940, troops of the Third Reich entered Paris, and the British suffered a humiliating retreat at Dunkirk. Although England, France, and Belgium were waging a mammoth battle against the Nazis and their Axis partner Italy, it was a dark hour for the Allied cause. The United States tottered on the edge of neutrality, but its emotion and not too well disguised material support went to the Allies.
We lived happy out there. We just hardly thought about it because we thought we were so far away from it that possibly we weren't going to be involved. And of course, Roosevelt kept maintaining the position that we will remain neutral.
This nation will remain a neutral nation. But I cannot ask that every American remain neutral in thought as well.
The winds from the Far East blew just as foul. Japan's overpopulation and the need for natural resources had led to a militarism that was perceived as a direct threat to American interests. Japan incurred the ire of the League of Nations by invading Manchuria. In short order, the Japanese created a new country, Manchukuo. Formidable Japanese empire expanded into China and Southeast Asia. The raw materials exported from these colonies fueled Japan's militaristic appetite. 1940, the United States distanced itself from Japan. The U.S. renounced commercial treaties and curtailed supplies of oil and scrap metal, crucial ingredients for the Japanese war machine. Japan sided with the Rome-Berlin Axis and on September 7, 1940, signed the Tripartite Pact, pledging to assist each other by all political, economic, and military means. On July 2, 1941, Japan invaded Indochina, seizing it from the Vichy French regime. Here was the golden chance to expand her empire while the nations of Europe were at war. The attack on Pearl Harbor was conceived by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet. Japanese war planners concentrated on a surprise attack on the American fleet, but were stymied by one technical aspect. Torpedoes, the key ingredient for success, were designed to work at a depth of 75 feet. Pearl Harbor was about 40 feet deep. Unwittingly, the Fleet Air Arm of the British Royal Navy helped Japanese planning. On November 12, 1940, barely a year before Pearl Harbor, a daring raid by 21 aircraft from the carrier Illustrious attacked the Italian fleet at Toronto. Wooden fins that broke upon impact with the sea allowed torpedoes to operate in shallow water. The attack received little public attention in the United States, but military experts took notice. All ships at anchor were now vulnerable to this kind of attack. On November 20, 1941, barely 2 weeks before the attack on Pearl Harbor, a special envoy from Tokyo, Saburo Kurusu, arrived in Washington. In a final bid to reconcile the differences between the bickering nations, Japan offered a proposal. Japan would withdraw from Indochina upon establishment of an equitable peace and a supply of a sufficient quantity of oil. Secret Japanese diplomatic radio transmissions were intercepted and deciphered by American cryptographers operating under the code name Magic. U.S. officials were privy to Japanese instructions. Ambassador Nomura was to press for a response by November 25th. If the signing can be completed by the 29th, the cable said, the imperial government will wait. After that, things are automatically going to happen. It wasn't so much a question of if, but a question of where. In the North Pacific, under strict radio silence, Japanese Vice Admiral Nagumo's fleet put to sea. It was a formidable task force: 6 aircraft carriers, 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, 9 destroyers, 3 submarines, and 8 tankers. U.S. military officials had been briefed on the worsening political climate. Admiral Kimmel dispatched a war warning to naval commanders. In response to Army General Short's Alert No. 1, planes were parked closely together to prevent sabotage. Aided by fog and stormy seas, the Japanese task force made its way undetected on its perilous 4,000-mile course. 12 days after departure, it reached its launching point 230 miles north of Oahu just before dawn on December 7, 1941. The crew readied themselves. The hour was at hand. "6 a.m., the engines fluttered to life. Up fluttered the signal flags, then down again. Wing Commander Mitsuo Fuchida lifted off to lead the attack. One by one, the aircraft roared down the flight decks, drowning the cheers and yells that erupted everywhere. Plane after plane rose until the first wave of 183 were in the air. At 7:02 a.m., the radar station at Opana Point began plotting a large group of planes approaching from the north. The operators reported their findings to the information center, but were instructed not to worry about it. The blips were assumed to be a wing of recently commissioned B-17s, scheduled to arrive from the mainland. Sunday morning, the slowest time on base. Some men attended religious services, while others nursed hangovers or pampered themselves with a few extra hours of shut-eye. This vulnerability has long been recognized in military circles. In mock military exercises, U.S. war planners choose precisely this moment to strike. Unalerted, the island lay open to the lightning attack on that Sunday dawn. All was quiet except for the drone of approaching bombers. "7:49 a.m. To, attack. Mitsuo Fuchida signaled his squadron. 7:53 a.m. Tora. He jubilantly radioed the fleet that surprise had been achieved. At 7:55 a.m., the devastating assault was unleashed. To prevent an air counterattack, the airfields were systematically wiped out. But all that happened at the airfields was only a prelude to the carnage at Pearl Harbor. Inside that harbor were some 133 vessels of the Pacific Fleet, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, and 8 battleships. Ship after ship received direct hits or crippling blows. In less than 2 hours, the U.S. military fortress had been disabled. The final toll was 2,403 servicemen and civilians dead, 1,178 wounded, 21 vessels, including 7 battleships, sunk or heavily damaged. Approximately 165 Army, Air Force, and Navy planes destroyed or unusable.
I have a statement here which the President has asked me to read. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor and all military activities at Oahu Island. A second air attack is reported on Manila air and naval bases.
Pearl Harbor exploded onto the pages of American history. The announcement momentarily hushed the nation and the world. Japan's official document severing negotiations with the United States was to have been presented precisely at 1 p.m. However, it was not delivered until 2:20, approximately 1 hour after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Continuing their offensive, the Japanese quickly took the Philippines, Wake Island, Malaya, Hong Kong, and the Dutch East Indies.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
Only 3.5 hours after appearing before Congress, the president affixed his signature on the documents that placed America formally at war with Japan. In shock, rage, and grief, America geared up for war. Throngs of volunteers reported to recruiting stations and were soon in uniform.
Well, Neil, were you impressed?
Anytime I have the opportunity to read or watch documentaries on World War II, I always learn something, and I think that's important for every generation in our future to appreciate what our World War II veterans did to help found our country and what it is today.
And there are veterans from other wars that have fought and maybe not being recognized by this as this one was, but still they keep the flame alive, and that's what we're concerned about. We have not mentioned the holy seasons of Hanukkah and Christmas, but we hope that you have been able to experience some peace from, as we say, that passes all understanding and keeps our hearts and minds in touch with one another and the needs of the creation that we've been called to share in stewardship. So thank you for tuning in once again for Vets Visits on TV.
Thank you for joining us for this month's show, seen in over 350 communities for over 3,500 half-hour periods. Our websites have additional information about the show and are updated bi-monthly. To contact us, you are welcome to use one of these electronic methods. For all ground mail with questions, suggestions for future programs, you may use this address. Our IRS nonprofit status is 501c3, Information Education. The Minnesota Commissioner of VA and these state-level organizations believe in and endorse Vets Visits. Join us next time, won't you, for Vets Visits on TV.